Amelia? Yeah, we should have the other microphone. Here it is. The microphone part is actually at the end of the wire.
Hello?
Yeah, now it's on.
On page 944, I shall breathe out experiencing the whole body.
Yeah.
When you're breathing in and out, are you experiencing the body as being an entity, your body, or are you feeling the breath going through your body?
In this particular phase.
Right.
The way I understand it, that one is actually feeling the body, not so much as an entity, but as a mass of sensations. One gets a sort of background sensation of the body as being positioned, as being in a particular position. Of course, one could also experience the breath coming in through other parts of the body, but one is not supposed to deliberately follow it from the nostrils.
It, but you feel that it's there, though.
One could feel it is there, but one shouldn't be following it, in a sequence going from the nostrils through the sinus region, down into the throat, down into the lungs.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, if that awareness arises, just it arises. But one keeps the attention focused on what I call the observation point of the breath.
Which is the breath.
Okay, see you, he's behind you.
Bhante, a question on the actual words. So what do you call, like seeing the whole breath body?
Yeah.
There it's used sabbakaya,
yeah,
patisangvedi.
Right.
The fourth one, when you tranquilize the body, it also has pasambayang, kaya sankarang.
Yeah.
Now, of course, we went to the other sutta to get the definition of a kaya sankara.
Right.
But it seems like in both cases, so in your opinion, it's not the same kaya that's being alluded to in the two cases?
It's not a matter of my opinion, but the third step just uses the phrase sabbakaya patisangvedi, which is like experiencing the whole body rather than kaya sankarang. But the fourth step has kaya sankarang, tranquilizing or settling down the bodily formation, the bodily activity. So there's a difference in the wording there. So it seems to me, this is just one possible interpretation, that sabbakaya patisangvedi, experiencing the whole body, is referring to that sense of the whole body that in modern terms we would call this the proprioceptive sense, the sense of feeling the whole body in its position. And that would become a clearer, more distinct experience as the breath is settling down. Whereas the fourth stage is the kaya sankara patisambayang, quieting, or we have tranquilizing the bodily formation. So it's a difference in the wording. Though it's interesting, this is in the Chinese counterpart of at least part of the Ānāpānasati Sutta that comes in the Chinese version of the Samyutta Nikaya. In the third step, it uses Shi Xing, which would be the Kaya Sankarang. So it says experiencing the whole bodily formation.
So Bhante, now in Buddha's teaching, if Kaya Sankara is taken to be the breath body,
Yeah.
what about the rest of the body, like the feeling I get on sitting on the seat, the touch of this table, what are they? Are they part of Kaya Sankara?
I would say not in the mindfulness of breathing. Because if one is doing mindfulness of breathing, well, the touch of the seat would come into awareness. So that could be part of though I wouldn't take that as being the Sabbakaya Patisangvedi, because I take it more to feel a sort of inner feeling of the body rather than the touch of the body against external surfaces. So I would say that they don't enter into the practice of Ānāpānasati.
So is Kaya Sankara exclusively defined as breath body, like how Venerable Dhammadinna defined it, or is Kaya Sankara in other contexts also include rest of the bodily formations?
When Kaya Sankara is brought into this meditative context, the only place that I know where it's explained explicitly is that sutta which explains it as the in and out breathing. But there is, as I said earlier in the class, that the expression Kaya Sankara is used in other contexts, but those are outside the purely meditative context. And that is in relation to dependent origination, where it means the volitional actions that create the karma that generate rebirth. But they're just two words, or it's the same word which has different meanings in different contexts. Yeah. No.
Bhante. Bhante, I am focusing on something you pointed out this morning, where you said he understands. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Where you pointed out the distinction between he understands and he trains.
Yeah.
And in that, you also have translated, I shall breathe.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering about the choice of shall as opposed to will, because once training comes in, purely my own experience, then striving also has a chance to enter.
Yeah.
And over the years, the way I worked with this was my experience was striving, and that's what I worked with to explore.
Yeah.
And eventually that has left me every once in a while. And so I'm asking about the choice of the word shall, which in the old days used to just imply futurity, and will was the one that said it's the will. But I'm wondering about your choice of those.
I think those wordings probably came from Venerable Nyanamoli, who did the original translation. I wouldn't have revised that. And then there's a difference in British usage and American usage of the two.
Well, they're wrong.
Excuse me?
No.
But I think in this case, I'd have to say whatever the English word would be, it implies effort rather than just something that happens in the future. Because it's connecting with training.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, breathing isn't something that happens in the future, but rather the future sense is sort of reflecting back upon the determination to train.
Okay. So again, for me, just my experience was to become very familiar with effort and with striving,
Yeah.
and that was useful.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, but definitely like the future sense is, I say it's reverting back in its implication or its significance to the training, because one is making the determination to train in such and such a way. Of course, breathing will just occur on its own. One doesn't have to make a determination to breathe in and out, and it's not really referring to the futureness of the in and out breathing, but rather to the future of the act of training.
And even when I was introduced to this question about the whole body of the breath or the whole body, and that was, that was out there for anyone who was paying attention, it was out there.
Yeah.
And even with that, what I focused on was feeling conflict within my head about what I should be focusing on, and that was valuable to me.
Yeah, to resolve the conflict, I just say try out both of them and then stick with whichever one is more meaningful and more effective for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started out in my own early days with mindfulness of breathing because I had read a book which explained that expression, I shall experience the whole body. It explained that this means following the beginning, intermediate stage, and the ending of each in-breath and out-breath. So I practiced in that way. But then later I found I just tried letting the attention settle on the whole body in the act of breathing. I found that works too.
Yeah.
And it's somewhat, in a way, it's more relaxing to focus back on the whole body.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's right.
Edwin.
Yeah. In the Vimuttimagga, and it states that you should observe your breath day at the nose, of course, as the Buddha explained. In the Visuddhimagga, it states that you could follow through it in actually the abdomen, coming back up. Which one of the two, I mean, I'm not saying which one is right or wrong. Which one is a little more convenient? Because it states that if you follow it through the abdomen and you keep going back up again,
Yeah.
it can actually make you very tranquil. In other words, you're not going to be able to concentrate. So which one of the two should I actually use, I mean, in your recommendation?
Are you saying that the Visuddhimagga says that one should follow?
Yeah, the Vimuttimagga, actually, there's a controversy there. That's one that states, one or the other, actually the critics. But actually, it states that you should keep your breath day at the nose.
Yeah.
Typically. Where, of course, the Buddha explains the same. Oh, actually, he doesn't say nose, but he says keep it there. When the Visuddhimagga, you can't follow it. You can go further.
No, I don't.
Is that right?
The Visuddhimagga doesn't advise following the breath in from the nostrils down to the depths of the lungs and then from the lungs out. It doesn't advise that. What it does, I think it has a passage where it says that when you breathe in, then the breath goes from the nostrils down through the windpipe down to the lungs to the abdomen. So it's just describing how the breath occurs, but it specifically says that one doesn't follow the breath in and doesn't follow it through the stages going out.
Okay.
I don't have a copy on hand, but I could find the passage if I had it.
Well, I started reading the Vimuttimagga, and actually there was only commentary about the differences of both, and it would show that one follows one technique and the other follows the other one. This was one of the techniques that they say was actually not, there was controversial about two different, books, Vimuttimagga and Visuddhimagga. But as you explained, maybe they actually misunderstood the wordings, right?
Yeah, I read the Vimuttimagga a long, long time ago, so I don't remember it very clearly, but I know very clearly what the Visuddhimagga says.
Okay,
And it says not to follow the breath in
okay,
and not to follow it from the inside out to the nostrils, but always keep the attention. It uses the area around the nostrils or the upper lip.
okay, thanks.
And it gives, in fact, it quotes another work called the Patisambhidamagga, which gives the example or the simile of a man who's sawing a block of wood. And so his attention is focused, when he's sawing the block of a log, his attention is always focused on the place where the teeth of the saw are cutting into the wood as the saw moves back and forth. It says that he's aware of the saw moving out beyond that contact point, and he's aware of the saw moving in when he's pulling in, but he doesn't follow the teeth going out or coming in, but he always keeps his attention on that particular contact point where the teeth of the saw will cut through the wood.
What's the name of the simile you said?
The simile of the saw.
The saw. But I thought the saw was about the anger, no? Wasn't it?
Oh, that's a different
Oh, okay.
simile.
Yeah, okay. No, okay.
That's the
I'm confused.
simile of when bandits are carving your limbs.
Yeah, no. So isn't that the simile of the saw?
Well, they're both called similes of the saw, but they're
Okay.
different similes.
Okay, got it. Okay, sorry.
And then it uses, I think, the Visuddhimagga also uses the simile of the guard at the entrance to a town. I guess in those days, the towns sometimes would be circled by a wall, and so there would be only one entrance or a few entrance points with guards to make sure that troublemakers don't enter. And so the guard is just keeping watch at the entrance. So when people come in, he'll admit them. When people go out, he sees them going out, but he doesn't follow the person who's going in after the person has entered the city to see where he's going. And he doesn't follow the persons who are going out to see where they're going when they leave the city. But his attention is just focused at the entrance to the city and the people.
That simile is what? What's the name of that simile?
I don't know that it has a specific name, but maybe you call it the simile of the city guard. Guard, yeah. Yes,
Andy, there's a question on the internet.
Okay.
Is asking what is the relationship between the Ānāpānasati and the jhanas. Basically, ask for, is there any mapping to the four step to the four jhanas?
What's interesting is that I haven't seen in the suttas an explicit connection of any meditation subjects to the jhanas, which is rather puzzling. The sort of mapping of meditation subjects to the jhanas, which subjects bring which jhanas, all comes in the commentaries, which is, as I said, it's a bit puzzling. But according to the commentaries, the mindfulness of breathing is capable of leading to the four jhanas. Okay, Bo, you had a question? Okay, and then you and woman behind, okay.
I have two questions. The first one is also about that Kaya Sankara.
Yeah.
Bhante, you explained it according to the definition of another sutta, right? It's Majjhima Nikaya 44.
Yeah.
But and you said that's the only one that has the definition. But that sutta is very abhidhammic, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't use the definition in that sutta, what would your explanation be? Just get rid of that abhidhammic sutta.
First, I'd have to search to see if there's another sutta that explains kaya sankhara as in and out breathing. Perhaps there is, I'm not sure. I would have to do a search for it. But suppose I didn't find another sutta, only this one. I would tend to think then that kaya sankhara is not just the in and out breathing, but it's all of the activities that one could sense going on in the body as one is sitting. You know, as one is sitting, especially in the initial stages, one gets sometimes feelings of like restlessness going in the physical manifestations, not just in the mind, kind of twitchiness. And then natural activities, like you might get a sense of the heart beating, nerve currents going through the body. So all sorts of activities taking place in the body. That would be my intuitive sense.
But yet I consistent with your interpretation of the Sabakaya Patisamvedi.
Yeah, I know.
Right? And my next question is to say, if I follow the interpretation of Sabakaya Patisamvedi as the experiencing of the whole body, then I would tend to be a follower of the insight meditation. But if I take that as the experience, to experience the whole body of the breath, then I would tend to be a follower of a concentration group. And in later Vipassana, I have to emerge out of the jhanas in order to contemplate the three characteristics. But if I take that as the whole body, not of the breath, then I will be maybe a follower of Mahasi method, something like that. Because if I take that as the body itself, then the attention or the awareness is expanding. But if I take that as the whole body of the breath, then my awareness is focused and narrower. So it's two different directions.
It seems that way, except what I would say is that the way I would understand it, even if one is doing that, experiencing the whole body, but one is still aware of breathing in and breathing out, so one is not leaving the breath in order to become aware of the rest of the body, but one is still continuing to focus on the breath. And so because of that, the attention to the breath will still be coming stronger. And so one can be moving it in the direction of strengthened concentration, leading to the jhanas. And in fact, if you know in fact, there seems to be almost pointing to somewhat two different ways of understanding the jhanas. If you take the jhana formula that one finds in the suttas, it speaks about like the meditator feeling sukha, piti sukha, joy and bliss throughout the whole body. So that would imply that in the jhana that there is an awareness of the body. Whereas if one takes the Visuddhimagga commentarial way of explaining the jhana, that one is just focused upon the nimitta, that bright, the light, the point of luminosity that appears, and lets the mind become fully absorbed in that to the point that awareness of the body disappears. Then it seems to be a variance of the sutta explanation.
Thank you very much.
Bandi,
I just wanted to add one thing in answering her question. Now, if I remember, when Goenka explains the Ānāpānasati Sutta, he takes that experiencing the whole body, I will breathe in, I will breathe out, he takes it to mean that one is now in the phase of insight where one is according to his method of insight, one is examining the sensations from the top of the head down through the face, through the neck, through the trunk, the limbs, down to the feet, the legs and the feet, so that one is experiencing the sensations in the whole body. So he explains it in that way. So he takes it in the direction of insight. Okay, please now.
I'm listening to the questions and your response, and I just feel I need to clear one point. Kaya Sankhara is said when one is in certain state of breathing, and it will be always, not always, but it's different state. But Kaya Sankhara would be, even there is such an openness of experience, but there is also awareness of body. So, for example, touching sensations, because if meditate, touching sensations.
Touching sensations.
Yeah, if a meditator is sitting,
Yeah.
and feet touching the ground, and all those touching sensations, would you, and when those touching sensations were disappearing as state, would you call that also Kaya Sankhara?
You mean the sensations of the buttocks touching the seat?
Yes.
I think that's a similar question to the one that Siu asked a little while ago.
Yes.
I don't see that as being the Kaya Sankhara. Those are just touch sensations. Of course, if one experiences them, then one notes them, but it's not a focus point in mindfulness of breathing.
Pandi, so the question is here, when one is aware of a certain state, finer state, more finer state than the ordinary state, when the one is experiencing the touching sensations, aware of body sensation exists, is that also called the Kaya Sankhara? And when one is not, and when one is not aware of touching sensations, or
no, I wouldn't put the external touch sensations within Kaya Sankhara. Of course, that's my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But it seems to me that the expression Kaya Sankhara, as I said, would incorporate only the sensations that one actually experiences internal to the body, rather than contact of the body with any external objects.
But is there a separation? Is there a separation between, in this state of finer state? It seems as if there is no separation. So this goes into your point about the jhanas, as I understood it. And can we really separate it? Where is the energy coming from? What that's being experienced?
Well, first, when it's speaking about Kaya Sankhara, it's speaking about tranquilizing the Kaya Sankhara.
Right.
So now, the Kaya Sankhara, as I said, would be actually the breath, the in and out breath. And so as the mindfulness of breathing is becoming more intensified, more focused, then the breathing is subsiding, becoming quieter, settling down. And so this would be this tranquilizing of the Kaya Sankhara. And for that to happen, for the mindfulness has to be continually focused on the breath and not moving towards I would call this external sensations. Though, as I said, the way I see it, as one is focusing on the breath, one will become more aware of the processes taking place within the body. And maybe if one does become aware of the touch sensation, say of the buttocks against the seat, one could incorporate that as part of experiencing the whole body. But one doesn't let the attention move to those areas and focus on those areas. The attention should always remain on the post of observation, the place where one is experiencing the breath coming in and out. Okay, we'll take Victor, see you, and then we'll have to stop because there'll be another group coming in here.
Thanks, Bhante. You just said that you need to maintain the focus in that area,
Yeah.
preferably below the nostrils or around the nostril area. But you also spoke earlier that eventually there's going to be a nimitta, or like the lights that sort of appear in that area. Did I hear you say that eventually your attention will go towards the nimitta and away from the breath? Is that?
This is the way it's explained
Okay.
in the Visuddhimagga system.
Right.
And the contemporaries who teach very strictly according to the Visuddhimagga system, like Pa-Auk Sayadaw.
Right. Okay, so that's like...
Though it seems to me that this is a bit at variance with the sutta, which seems always to emphasize, which first it doesn't mention the nimitta, and then it always speaks about keeping the attention on being aware of breathing in, breathing out through all of the stages.
Even through, as you go through the jhanas, sort of...
Yeah.
Okay.
Though it doesn't really mention the breathing in connection with the jhanas, but it doesn't speak about, in the context of mindfulness of breathing, it never speaks about shifting the attention, about a nimitta appearing and then moving the attention from the breath to a nimitta.
Oh, okay.
So many people do have the experience of the nimitta.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Okay, then see you.
Thank you, Bhante. You alluded to this internal, external, and I've actually seen this word even within suttas like Satipatthana.
Right.
Here, in this particular context, I mean, maybe it was just the choice of words, you used external, even the bodily sensations that are not part of the breathing point of attention.
Yeah.
Whereas in other suttas I've seen conventionally it's been explained as another person's body.
Yeah.
But so how do you actually, so in this framework of relative framework, almost even the sensation at the feet is external. So how do you actually, the way you, internal versus external, so how do you actually distinguish this difference? When they say, when they say external, is it really another person's body which we cannot actually experience at all? Or is it actually, when they say external, it's something other than breathing? Or what's meant by external?
Yeah, in the Satipatthana Sutta, where it speaks about, in the section on mindfulness of breathing, in the Satipatthana Sutta, it says, thus he dwells contemplating the body and the body internally, thus he dwells contemplating the body and the body externally, thus he dwells contemplating the body and the body both internally and externally. And it's in regard to breathing, in regard to quite a lot of the subjects, it's something of a puzzle. And I mean, many of us have, pondered, because it's never really explicated, what is actually meant, how does one put this into practice? So I only have my sort of speculation or conjecture, not an authoritative explanation. And I would say that this applies more to the aspect of developing insight based, say, on mindfulness of breathing, rather than to the stage or to the practice which is intended to strengthen samadhi or concentration. Now what one does, the way I see it in regard to mindfulness of breathing, as one has been attending to one's own in-breath and out-breath, then one just temporarily turns the attention to the fact that all other beings, or at least animate beings, are breathing in and out. So one can't actually experience the in-breath and out-breath of others. But it sort of really, in a sense, blows open one's mind to get the sense that this process of breathing in and out is a universal process, that every sort of animate being is breathing in and out, and it gives this sense of how everything that lives is dependent upon air for its subsistence. And so one could then use this as a theme for further sort of almost like a reflective meditation. So it sort of universalizes the sense of breathing in and out. And it's quite, from my experiments with it, it's a kind of mind-expanding experiment. Because we see other people, occasionally we'll see the chest rising and falling, but we don't get a sense all at once that everybody else, not only all other human beings, 7 billion human beings, but countless animals, insects, probably bacteria. I don't know about bacteria, I can't speak for them. I think they take in carbon dioxide and put out oxygen. But other very small, minute animals are taking in oxygen, putting out carbon dioxide. That's the only way I could make sense out of that passage. And then one runs into the same problem with, one gets the foundation of mindfulness, contemplation of feeling, contemplation of states of mind. Okay, if I don't possess the ability to read the minds of others, how do I do contemplation of feelings externally, contemplation of states of mind externally? You know the answer? Does somebody else have the question? Okay, then we'll end for the day. So please come back next week, same time, same station. Okay, we'll end with 3 half bows to the Buddha.